Hello friends, welcome to the Cold War Prepper. My name is Lee, and I've got on one of my favorite new hats, the St. Michael hat, and that's supposed to protect us in case of war. St. Michael and St. Sebastian are the two patron saints of the military, so it's just kind of special for us. Hey, listen, there's an awful lot of stuff going on. I mean, there is more stuff going on than we know how to handle. And there's a lot of hysteria going on. So please don't get caught up in the hysteria. Have a plan, follow your plan, rehearse your plan, and you'll be fine. Everything will be okay. I know there's an awful lot of prepper channels out there saying, move now, get out of the city, get out of the suburbia, go buy your miracle place in the Ozarks, in Idaho, in the Rocky Mountains, in Colorado. You know what? Let's look at a couple of realistic things here. Yes, those who did it a while ago, you're set. Let's admit it. I mean, you've got it made. Even if I bought property up in Cloudcroft, New Mexico right now, one of my favorite places, or Rio Doce, New Mexico, I'm not going to move up there and in time, and I'm not going to have everything set up like I have set up here. There are so many different things. Let's take a look at a couple of things. Right now, about 90% of the population lives in urban, suburban areas, okay? So, finding land that isn't bought up by Mr. BG is going to be difficult, and the rest of it's owned by the Communist Party of that one country. So, for us to try to find land and affordable land is going to be extremely difficult. Number two, another interesting statistic, 64% of the population in the United States right now is living paycheck to paycheck. So if we're living paycheck to paycheck, what makes you think we can afford to purchase land, move ourselves to a new location, and start all over again? It probably is not going to happen. So what we need to do is, for the 80% of us 80 to 90% of us who currently live in urban or suburban areas, we're just going to have to make do with what we have, where we are, how we are, and with what we have, okay? So let's take a look at my priorities, and I'm going to share these with you because if you want to adopt them, that is fantastic. If not, you want to adopt portions of it and modify it, that would be great too. Personalization is the key. So I've got a simple five key things I want done. Number one, I need water, and I need sustainable water. So I currently, just today we went to Walmart and I bought a gallon of water, and my wife says, "Hey, look, it's this one's 40 cents cheaper. Do you want to buy 2 of these instead?" And so I said, "Nah, we'll just get that later." We got 1 gallon of water today. We'll set that aside and use it. We'll rotate that. But that is not sustainable. All the water I have here in the house in case of an emergency is going to eventually dry up. So I need a sustainable way. And walking to the river a mile away with a buggy and 2 5-gallon jugs, and then coming up, I think our elevation is probably 250 feet up from the actual river. So, that's going to be kind of a hard haul for a 70-year-old with a broken hip. And so I've got to find another way of making sure I have sustainable water. So I'm looking at a rain catchment system, probably around 1,300 gallons. And, if we use 3 gallons a day between the two of us, 1 gallon each for, let's call it 4 gallons a day, 1 gallon each for drinking and 1 gallon each for other things, hygiene, washing, rehydrating food, and all that kinds of stuff. Crying out loud, let's make it 5 gallons a day. That's 300 days. So, even if we use 5 gallons a day for 300 days, that's 1,500 gallons. It's definitely going to rain sometime in those 300 days. Even here in the drought of Central Texas, we've had a couple good downpours, and I think we'd be able to make it from one rainfall to the next. What are you going to do as far as making sure you have sustainable water? Number two is food. Get as much food as you can right now. Do not charge extra on your credit card. Do not get stuff you can't afford. what disposable income you have. If you can afford to get water and food, that's what I would spend it on. And then we have to talk about sustainable food. So Eric from Epic Gardening, and a fantastic channel, I'll put a link to his channel down below. He did an exercise where one summer he planted a 20 by 40 plot of wheat in his backyard. And he grew just enough wheat to make enough flour to make one loaf of bread. A little bit more than one loaf, but roughly one loaf of bread. So that kind of tells you you're going to need a lot more than a 20 by 40 patch of wheat in order to have a sustainable life. You're going to need a lot of other things. I've got 2 blackberry bushes and 2 blueberry bushes out in the backyard. That's going to be fine for 1 or 2 salads or 1 or 2 fruit bowls. It's not going to keep us alive. I've got 20 strawberry plants. That's not going to keep us alive. We're going to need a lot more than what we currently have or what we currently think we have in order to be sustainable. Some of the things you might consider: mushrooms, and then beans, and honeybees. Gosh, that would be fantastic as well. Fruit trees. What can you do that's going to give you basically a nut tree? Of course, native pecans here in Texas are pretty tough to crack, but thin shell, maybe a couple thin shell pecan trees in the backyard. That might be something. Black walnut. You can make a tincture of iodine that rivals with potassium iodide as far as being a protective value against radiology or radioactive effects. Or at least that's what they said about Chernobyl, that's what the Russians were doing there. So, number 1, water. Number 2, food. Number 3, sanitation and hygiene. Find a place to get rid of your trash. You don't want to attract rodents. And the other thing is, you also want to get rid of, under hygiene and sanitation, you want to get rid of your human waste. So I would recommend, if you're in the high rise and you're up top, that's no problem. It's all going to go down, and if it overflows, it's down below you, not where you are. Although you still might want to have something like the Jace Medical Kit, because there are going to be diseases running rampant. But higher up you are, the better off you are. And then, so you want to find a way to dispose of that. We're going to use the luggable loo. And so we've got 1 for urine, 1 for fecal matter. The urine can be just poured out in a leach field. The fecal matter is going to have to be either burned or composted. And so we've got plans for that. Number 4 is going to be self-protection or self-defense. And I'm not going to tell you what to do there. That's up to you. Just take into consideration limitations and physical abilities of the people that you're going to have in your group and what they can and cannot do. For example, if you have a member, as we do, who was in a car wreck and broke their arm in 3 different places and it still hasn't healed, they don't have the strength to rack an semi-automatic pistol. So that person has to have a revolver. And so think of things like that and the limitations you're going to have for the people you're with, and make sure that everybody's well trained in the weapon that they can defend themselves with. And finally, number 5 is build a community. Get a bunch of people, like-minded people, working together to achieve a single goal, which is survival. So the more people that you can get interested in coming together, coalescing together, focused on a single goal, survival, the better off you're going to be. And the less rancor there's going to be within the group if you can keep that focal point there. Because you're going to need more than one 20 by 40 foot wheat field, I can guarantee you that. And so that means you're going to need more than one person doing it. And so that's my 5 points for the urban suburbanite. Number 1, water. Number 2, food. Number 3, sanitation and hygiene. Number 4, self-defense. And finally, number 5 is a community of like-minded people working together to achieve a single goal. So remember, we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. Take care. Bye-bye.